All right. So we'll continue with this with properties. So what is property? A property is like a combination of a variable and a method, and it has two methods: a get and a set method. So for every property, we have two methods. That's the thing to note. We have a get and we also have a set. The get method returns the value of the variable, right? So when you call the get method, it will only return the value of the variable. And when you call the set method, it assigns value to the variable. Okay, so let's come here to explain that. Okay, so we have a class person. Okay, so for this class person, we have private string name. So let's just make this first name, right? Let's call it first name. Then let's have another property of the class. Let's say last name. So let's add this field here. Last name. All right, so we have this class called person class. So we have the private field, first name. We have another private field, last name. So these two fields, they are the fields that we don't want our users to have access to, so that they won't just be using it malicious, so that our code will not break. So we now create what we call properties around it. That is a get and a set method. You create around it. Okay. So in the get method, in this one now, what we are just returning is the first name. That is, when you are calling this, what you are going to have will be the first name. All right. Then also when you are making reference to this last name, what you are going to have will be the last name. So when you call the get method, you will get the last name, and when you are assigning to it, you get the last name. Okay, what you are assigning to, the value you are assigning to will be assigned to the private field last name. Okay, so I believe quickly, let me just emphasize this. We have first name and last name. All right, I believe you agree with me that this first name is different from this first name, right? We all agree to that.
Yes.
Hello. If you have a contrary opinion, please let us know so that we clear that before we just move ahead. Okay, good. So the silence shows that we all agree to that. You know, C# is case sensitive. All right. You can see this one has small letter F and N. So this is capital letter F and N. So this is called Pascal naming. Okay. So in this now we just use a small letter naming. So this we might have to discuss on this maybe much later on whatever skills you should use, maybe the Pascal naming skills or snake naming case or camel casing. Okay, so we can is a subject for discussion some other day. Okay, So now we have this method void, okay, that displays the name. So let's just write the name. Let's just write the name, first name. Okay. So this is a method that display the name. Then let me put another get here to just explain. Let's call this one full name. Okay. So what we are doing here, we need to just turn whatever the full name is. So this will return this. Okay, so we have the class person, we have the private fields, which is first name and last name. We have the public field, first name, which we are using to get the value for the private field first name. And we're also using it to set the value for the first name. Okay, so this get, whenever you are calling this get method, it will return this first name. And whenever you are calling the get method here, this get will return this last name field. And the set, we set the last name field. Okay. Then we now have a public field. This is a public field now. That what it does is that it just returns the first name and the last name, which we call the full name. Okay, we can even make do with this. Okay, so this just returns the full name. If you want to get the full name of that person, you call this method. Okay, now let's see it in use here as we round up this class. Sorry, I've missed something. Okay, so we have the instance of this last name. Let's say the last name is Samson, and let's say the first name is Peter. Okay, what we've done here is that we've created the instance of that class. Okay, and we've also we've assigned a value to the last name. Okay, and you notice that as you're assigning a value to the last name here, this same value will be assigned to the private field property last name in the class, in that class. Okay, I think I might still need this method to show that. Okay. Sorry, let me just quickly put this. So, what I'm trying to explain. Why is my intelligence no? My intelligence is trying to destroy.
There should be a bracket after display full name where property is supposed to pass.
Yeah. So, thank you. You can see when you are declaring your method, you should always put parentheses after the method. Thank you very much. So, all right. So, I'll be putting a breakpoint to just debug through and explain so that we just wrap that up like so, right? Let me run this in the book. Oh, program has already finished. Yeah. Let me run it. Okay, so now we are creating the instance of that person, but you notice that in here we have no constructor, so and it will be done explicitly. Then after the instance, we are assigning last name to Samson, and also we assign the first name, which is Samson, and the last name, which is Peter. And we are now calling console.write line person full name. You notice that the full name now, well, the method we have for the full name is just a getter. Okay, you're only getting the full name because you already have what you need to get the first name, to get a full name, which is just the first name and the last name. So once you get those two, right, you can see what I'm returning here is the private field, first name and last name. So that's to tell us that the publicly accessible last name and first name are used to privately set value for the privately accessible first name and last name. All right. So that is how properties work. And you can see on our console, now the debug console, we have Samsung. Okay. So that's just that on properties. Okay. But in most of our day-to-day coding, in most instances, what we might be doing might be automatic properties. That is, you are automatically setting the properties at the same time. All right. So instead of doing this, doing the private field and doing the public field here, all right. I mean, if you're doing this private and the public field here, you'll be able to, you can just set them directly as a public, and you put the getter and the setter. Okay, it's also the same thing. All right. What I'm trying to say is that this first name here is the same thing as if I just put it as public string first name get and set. Okay, so this and this is the same thing. So I can now do without this. Okay, I can now remove that and everything still works. Okay, so that is that on properties and encapsulation. So with that, we are done. That'll be the end of the session for today. So if you have any question, just feel free